Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, welcome to the third and final installment of my three-part interview series with comedian Buddy Winston. As I mentioned previously, Buddy was the monologue writer for The Tonight Show with Jay Leno for years. And in part three of our conversation, we take a more serious turn. We talk about, Donald Trump's dumbing down of America while others are trying to educate America. We talk about the injustice of Donald Trump remaining free while the people he ordered to attack the Capitol on January 6th are going to prison. We talk about pardons. We talk about the OLC memo, the memo that says a criminal president cannot be indicted while he's in office. And we talk about Donald Trump flooding the zone with crimes. Friends, I hope you enjoy part three, the final installment of my interviews with Buddy Winston.
You are doing something that's the opposite of the whole GOP agenda, right-wing agenda, I should say, is that they want to dumb down America. You spend every day educating America. They probably hate you more for that than they do of your legal wrangling. That they don't want America to be clued in and intelligent about these matters.
Yeah, well, it was Trump who said, "I love the uneducated," and he meant it. I don't use the word maggots, and I try not to put people down, even though I disagree with them, not only ideologically, but kind of dispositionally. But, I've always maintained, there's no us and them in America. There's just us, different kinds of us, but it's all us. And in a strange way, I feel really bad for the folks who attacked the Capitol on Donald Trump's orders and are paying the price, particularly if maybe they don't have the critical thinking skills necessary to realize that when a corrupt President of the United States lies to them and orders them to do something that's clearly illegal. Most people, I think, are entitled to credit what the president says and make their own day-to-day behavioral decisions based on what the president says. And they did that. They're paying the price, and he's golfing and going to dinner parties and fundraisers. And there's a deep injustice. Not that the people who attacked the Capitol deserve to get away with it. They need to be held accountable, but really of paramount concern is holding the general who ordered the attack accountable.
Well, that's why the whole executive privilege thing, the word privilege has been taken too far. Like this DOJ memo that says the president can't be prosecuted. I'm sure the founding fathers said, the Constitution is what's important. But if someone comes up with a Post-it note, that's more important. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And pardon power needs to be fixed. It can't be involve crimes that you're committing and your cohorts that commit them with you. That's crazy. It's that get out of jail free card that you talk about is crazy. The problem that we have now is the law keeps getting fuzzier and fuzzier, right? And no one quite understands how it works. And they see all these people above the law, the Epstein thing where no one knows who did what. And for instance, the pardon power, the DOJ memo says you can indict a sitting president. Well, I say, what if he murdered, let's say 100,000 people by mishandling a pandemic, and there's nothing you can do about it. So people are sitting there and going, well, wait a second. The guy that's telling me to storm the Capitol isn't even getting taken in for killing hundreds of thousands of people. He'll probably be fine. We'll be fine.
He's committed so many. And what really scares me at this point, Buddy, is, I believe he's going to be held accountable for the Mar-a-Lago classified documents crimes. I also tend to believe he's going to be held accountable for crimes associated with the insurrection, his attempt to, run roughshod over the will of the American voters and retain the power of the presidency unconstitutionally. What scares me most is that he committed so many crimes in office, just as you alluded to a few minutes ago. He's criminally responsible for hundreds of thousands of avoidable COVID deaths. He extorted and bribed President Zelensky with our money, taxpayer money, congressionally allocated funds. And he committed 8, 10 obstruction of justice crimes, as pretty meticulously documented by my old boss, Bob Mueller. And if he is not held accountable for all of those crimes while in office, that is DOJ giving permission to the next nefarious president to do it all over again.
And they gave him permission. And you know, the thing is, look at Paul Manafort. He's a traitor, you know, and what happens? Not only did he get pardoned, but all those properties we were taken from him that was supposedly paying for the investigation, they gave them back to him. You know, they didn't even take them. And they go, oh, it doesn't seem worth it. People are watching this, but you know, the thing with Trump is the next thing is so crazy that you can't remember. You know, it's like you have a shopping list and you forget the milk because you got all these other exotic things on the list.
He's
you know,
flooding the zone with crime. And I can tell you from spending decades at the Department of Justice, we don't multitask all that well. We want to latch on to one crime that we can investigate exhaustively, I would say ad nauseum, in the grand jury, wrap it up in a beautiful little bow, negotiate a guilty plea so we never have to go to trial. That wasn't my MO, but that is the MO of the Department of Justice. Now, they do those investigations extraordinarily well. And if this were 1950, it would still serve them well. But when you flood the zone with crimes, you need to step it up and handle them all in a different way. And that's what doesn't seem like they're equipped to do.
Well, there's another built-in problem that you'll have to agree with, is that the general public doesn't understand the timeline of justice. So what winds up happening is the GOP takes advantage of the fact that if something hasn't happened yet, they act like it was a nothing burger and it's not going to happen. And then suddenly Stormy Daniels thing comes to the forefront and everyone's like, oh, come on, that was ages ago. That doesn't matter anymore, you know, but yes, it all matters. And the media lately is driving me crazy because they keep saying, well, this charge with Stormy Daniels is underwhelming and it's going to dilute the other things. It's not underwhelming. There's wire fraud. There's all kinds of stuff involved. Maybe the sex was underwhelming. I'll agree with that. But as far as the charges, he should be charged with all of them. I'm not, you can't say, oh, well, you committed 20 murders, so we'll only charge you for one. You know, they did that with Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Right before they got to the end, the judge said, oh, yeah, let's drop the charge of crossing state line and blah, 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 right? And then they acquitted him of the murder charge, so he didn't get charged with anything. Had they kept that charge in there, that minor thing, he would have been charged with something and still maybe gone to prison, right? Or had a record at least, you know? You know, this mentality isn't just, you know, it's society. You know, Bill Maher always says that the people that know the problems aren't pushing back. But how? They're not supposed to exactly push back in the way he says. Some people just want to live their life and they certainly don't want to have the pressure of these daily crimes. Trump is an overload. You know what I mean? You haven't rested probably for one day in years.
Yeah,
you know?
I sort of thought my role in the criminal justice system, seeking justice, not just for victims of crime, but making sure that the system treated justly and fairly everybody who was accused of a crime, because that is a prosecutor's responsibility too, to make sure you prosecute honestly, ethically, and fairly, and that you protect the rights of the defendant. Because, you know, if you're going to violate somebody's constitutional rights to get them convicted, then you ought not be in the business of being a prosecutor. But I did think when I retired from DOJ after 30 years as a Fed, maybe my justice work was over. And yet now I feel like I've had to try to quadruple my efforts and contribute in whatever way I can.
Right.
And I
so
saw your post, Buddy, about how you thought the Office of Legal Counsel memo was one of the worst things that we had going for us, which is the memo that says a sitting criminal president can't be prosecuted for his crimes, which I think sort of takes us one giant step in the direction of being a banana republic. But you added that now we have something that's maybe worse. What is it? Clarence Thomas?
Yeah, he's supposed to make our decisions. You know what I think should happen, Glenn? I think we should do what American Idol does. I think we should get judges that we pay $25 million a season for, right? And then they don't have to be compromised.